ready.
What it mean to be the best? Riding foes, feeling unimpressed. Make me reminisce, throwing bows, bend the corner, set my mind up on the goal. All I know is stay down, bad, I'm the goal. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. Okay, feel like the best, the great. Now ain't no debate. Yeah. I ain't gotta say much. Know the boy got a touch. Another win for the rush. Another win for the rush. See me once and got a crush. See you twice and that's enough. Get the ring sized up.
Hello. Welcome in to Tell the Truth, episode 85. The boys are back in St. Joe. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Trey Smith, Trent McDuffie. Your favorite guys are traveling up to St. Joseph, Missouri, and have one more practice underneath their belt to kick off 2025 Kansas City Chiefs training camp. DG, CJ, how y'all feeling, man?
Smells like football.
Smells like fresh grass, shoulder pads, Gatorade, sweat.
Gatorade.
Just smells like training camp. You know?
Smell like football. Hear the cleats clacking when they walking down the street.
I woke up this morning. I was like,
"What up, Kyle?
Is that dew on the grass? That the dew?
The sun started beaming.
The sun is beaming. It's hot. It's humid.
I ain't gonna lie. Boy, I had a flashback when that sun hit my. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Had a flashback.
Boy, I had
PTSD.
I was like, boy, they can have that, bro. I don't want to remember. I ain't gonna switch places with them for a second. They can have that, boy. With that helmet on? Oh God, no.
I made a promise, man. I made a promise. You know, I think I gotta stick to it.
They had to get that snip. We had to put it on live. Y'all want to see it on live chat? Y'all want to see it on live?
Right? Yeah.
Like that's how confident DG is in Brett Veach's abilities to pay his own players that he feels are necessary to be valuable. He knows he want to cut his hair, and now he's got a reason to do so before the season starts. Man. What's up, Bug? For Joshua Simmons.
They gotta get the deal done first.
We'll talk a little Joshua Simmons a little bit later on as we get in some training camp battles and talking about the 53-man roster preview as well to next year. But first order of business, as you guys see at the bottom of the Chiron and the title, of course, Mr. George Karlaftis. Greek Freak, Furious George, playoff sack master himself, Mr. 56.
Call him G-Money.
G-Money. Yeah. You still don't have an actual sack celebration, though. I think he could just do the cash money. The money showers
G-Money
now.
George.
Right. G-Money George has officially gotten paid, extended 4-year deal, up to $93 million, $88 million kind of on the books. Another 5 in incentives that are possible, $62 million guaranteed in practical guarantees. I think it ended up being like a $36 million signing bonus specifically. That'll be tacked on to what is already on the books for him as far as his rookie deal this year, which is about $5 million. His 5th-year option that was picked up back in April of $15 million next year. So essentially, George Karlaftis is now under contract for the next 6 years to be a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, which is great to hear. I will start off because I had probably the most unique reaction to this, I suppose. I had talked about this, in our conversation last week about the George Karlaftis value and, how much I felt like he needed to see another step before I really wanted to pay him significant money. And don't get me wrong, like the money that he made is significant money. But ultimately, the structure of the contract, even though the new money comes out to like $24 million or $20 million, the structure of the contract makes it so that it's really a $17.5 million per year type of aspect of it. That is something that I can live with, and I wanted to be sub 20, especially for how we know the market and the cap is going to continue to rise. The great thing about George Karlaftis is he hustles. He understands how to finish plays. He does win one-on-ones as a solid level as far as a pass rusher concerned, and he does defend the run on a consistent basis as a true 3-down edge. And the fact that he does that while always being durable and also going about it the right way and being a leader in the locker room, he talked about today trying to give some of those lessons that he got from Frank Clark, passed it down to the young guys that they got now in camp up in St. Joe. that's the type of guy that you want to pay to be here long term. And ultimately, the structure of the deal makes me comfortable with what the money ultimately looked like. And the cap hits are ultimately going to be around $5 million this year, $15 million next year, $23 million in 2028, 25, and then 22. And the reality situation is, by the time that you get, the cap through 3 years now, I guess in that case, those are going to look like pretty good, marks to have him at. And that's before you end up getting into a discussion about extending him as well. So I'm happy with the deal. And that's even before we see what George Karlaftis possibly could take a step in, because ultimately he is only 24 years old and he can get better from that perspective as far as being able to win those one-on-ones. So that's my spiel. I'll let you guys talk, because you guys were always optimistic about signing George Karlaftis. And then certainly we're happy when it did happen, CJ and DJ.
Yeah, I think early on we both me and CJ both kind of called it. It was only going to get done if they felt like it was going to be on a team-friendly kind of basis, to where both sides kind of agree on something that was mutual for both sides. And I think that's ultimately what happened. The way they kind of structured this contract, in about 2 or 3 years, this is going to be a bargain. He's going to be massively underpaid, especially if he outperforms this deal. And I mean, looking from the financial perspective and thinking in an agent mindset, I probably would have told him, don't sign this deal. Just hold off and see what you do this year, and then maybe we can come to the table and figure something out. But ultimately, George is one of those guys. I don't ever think it was really about the money for him. I think he's one of those guys that he loves, where he's at. He's comfortable where he is. Money comes and goes. I know some guys in the league, care a little bit more about it than others. So I think that's ultimately what this boiled down to. Just being in the scheme that fits him the best, and being in a place where he's loved and in a community that obviously supports him. And his fiance as well too. So I think that's what ultimately that this is broke down to. But I'm great with it, because you get a guy who's gonna play 3 downs for you, pretty much. Plays the run very well. Can be a high level pass rusher in one-on-one situations at points in times. May not be elite or anything like that. But has that potential to maybe someday be that guy, He's still, 24 years old to this point, so I think that he's got the sky's the limit for George, and he's only going to get better. I'm glad Brett Beach and them were able to jump out in front and get this done, just solely based off of where they're at in the cap space and the numbers and things like that. I got to give a lot of credit to Veach and his staff, man. They do a phenomenal job of continuing to be able to spread money throughout the years and be able to get guys paid and not hinder themselves from being able to go out and add to this team when they needed be. I know a lot of people were upset at first when they seen the contract, but that's why you got to wait for the full details to kind of come out and let things play out. So I think it's a great deal for both sides. And hopefully George goes out there and he balls, man.
No, for sure. I think George is definitely a guy that earned his money. Shout out to him and his family. I mean, a guy coming from Purdue. A lot of people didn't know if he was going to be here long term, and not the fact that he is going to be here long term. 6 years, guaranteed to be in Kansas City, and he's right now he'll be 25 this year, or he is 25. So you're probably guaranteed to have him closer to 30. So to get 2 deals out of George is definitely a value for Veach, and obviously your goal as a GM, like DG says, to build your roster and to try to keep guys here for those second contracts. So the fact that you got Nick Bolton signed, and you got Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey signed, and now George, and obviously Trent and McDuffie will be the next goal. That's the mark of a great GM. Not only are you winning Super Bowls and showing dominance and winning your division, you're keeping your players in-house. And that's what you want to do when you want to continue that dominance. So George is a guy that obviously we all agreed on earlier the better for him, because the market's going to blow up with guys like Trayvon Walker, Aiden Hutchinson, plenty of other guys to name. So as far as his class, when you look at other guys he stacks up, like I said, the 2 guys we just named, Aiden and Trayvon, you look at Jermaine Johnson, he's pretty much solidified himself as a top 3 edge in that class. Wouldn't by any stretch of imagination say he's better than Trayvon or Aiden, but George has been a guy that's dominated in big moments. He's played well in the playoffs, which is the mark of any player. You want to show up when your number is called on the most, and he's delivering when we need him to. Obviously, we still want to see a lot of growth, and we want to see him be better than what he is. But for the last 2 years, for you to have 8 sacks and 10.5 sacks, and you haven't even had a full season with obviously his full crew with CJ and Charles Omenihu on the field next to him, that's only going to show potential, and that's kind of what the Chiefs banked on. I know some people around the kingdom are probably probably pessimistic more than optimistic like we are about the deal, which I completely understand. Some people would rather you perform after and then get your money. But I think Veach kind of did the due diligence like DG just said. So why not get it out the way early? If we believe in the growth and believe in his potential, let's just get it out the way now. So I was kind of shocked that he signed. I thought he would wait too, DG. That's probably the better move from the player perspective. But the team put a number in front of him. Him and his agent liked it. And, hey, as a fan, I love it when guys get to stay in-house and they get to stay in places that they want to be. And they're flourishing not only on the field but off the field as well. So happy for George, happy for the Chiefs. So
Did his agent like it?
I mean, hey, they signed.
It was me, and I was his agent. I'm like,
hey. It's always funny when you get that context from like a player or a fan perspective. So
I don't think it's a bad deal. Could he have gotten more if he waited it out? I think he definitely could have from that perspective. But it is, hey, this allows him to get close to that age 30 season, but at least, within a realm of possibility where he possibly could get a second extension off of that, or, just get a real second deal in general. So I think there is some value as far as that's concerned and where the years ended up lining up in that aspect of it. But I think it's a good deal for George. I think it's a good deal for the Chiefs from that perspective. DG does not necessarily agree.
No, I love it. From a fan perspective, it's great.
Great job.
Bro. I'm just thinking in an agent point of view, hell no.
He could have got more bread for sure.
He could have got way more bread.
If he played it out. Yeah.
Show me the money.
Hey, speaking of show me the money and getting more bread, this brings it back to his fellow 2022 first-round pick companion in Trent McDuffie, multiple-time All-Pro Trent McDuffie, who was up in St. Joe getting that first practice in. Today, Deuce is still on the waiting block, and we did not necessarily have any questions that went, as far as Trent McDuffie. Brett Veach did not end up talking. It was Mark Donovan that did earlier, and then also we got Andy Reid a little bit later on, and then just players after that. So not really anything on the McDuffie front, kind of quiet. Now, again, it was pretty quiet until all of a sudden Creed Humphrey and Noah Gray got contracts, so we'll see if that necessarily changes in the coming days. We'll certainly aspect of going throughout training camp as well to see if that happens later on. The thing about Trent McDuffie is the number is known at this point where that stands about trying to reset the market at technically $30.2 million a year in new money, and then structuring it sort of in a similar way to George Karlaftis, but more so in the way that Derek Stingley's contract has been built out off of those next 2 years, because he was also a first-round corner. Same thing for Sauce Gardner as well. So the figure's known. Does Trent McDuffie get done? We will certainly see as far as that is concerned. It's going to be an interesting question mark because you look at what the pillars of the defense are kind of moving forward. Obviously, Nick Bolton has gotten his extension. Now, George Karlaftis has gotten his extension. We obviously have Chris Jones here under contract for the next few years as well. You look at that back end, it's kind of, hey, we're asking Jaden Hicks to step up into that starter role, and he's obviously under contract as well for the next few years. But in the secondary, with guys that are expiring like Jalen Watson and just kind of rookies and young guys outside of that, or Jalen Watson and Brian Cook, I'll mention specifically, and then kind of rookies and then also Christian Fulton in that mix, it's, hey, Trent McDuffie is looked at as what's going to be the pillar of the defense moving forward from a secondary perspective. So he's the next guy to get done, certainly, as well. I think we all pretty well still feel that ends up getting done by the start of the season.
Yeah, for Trent, yeah. It's probably like a before we leave for Brazil type thing.
I honestly think the Karlaftis deal is kind of telling on why I think the Trent McDuffie deal ultimately is done. The way they kind of structured it, it made it seem like they kind of knew that eventually at some point that they were going to also have to talk to McDuffie about the payday for him. And what that was going to cost them. So, like I said, that's why I said shout out to Brett Veach and his crew for being able to work the numbers and work the cash in a certain way where they could be able to have those talks and sit down with McDuffie. Obviously, it's not going to be easy as getting George done. just because it's a little different type of contract at this point. So, but yeah, I think it gets done before. I think it gets done before week 1, and then this is the perfect time to get it done during training camp when you got the player there and be able to get his agents there in house and talk in person and stuff like this.
And Trent did a little audio interview after practice today, and he obviously said he obviously loves being a Chief and loves the tradition and culture we built here. And obviously he kind of try to play it off and say he's not really thinking about it, but we know it's the biggest topic as far as Chief Kingdom right now. So he knows the deal's going to get done eventually, but he's a guy that kind of similar to Trey Smith when asked about it, was hold out never an option. Like you said, no, holding out was never an option. Obviously, I want my money. We all want to get paid. But at the end of the day, the guys love to practice. They love to play. And those are the kind of players you want to pay their money to. Guys that truly love football. They're really football nerds or junkies. They're going to go out there and get the work in regardless. And they know the contracts will get handled when that time comes. So he says his agent kind of keeps him up to date, but not too much. But obviously, he's a guy that knows. He sounded pretty confident that he knows the deal is going to get done. He's just going out there, going about his business, and focused on getting ready for week 1 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, with that being said, we now move on to something a little less fun than guys getting paid, or at least hoping to get some. It is fun to draft great players that want to play for your team.
Great job. Great job.
Also great to pay the players that are great on your team as well.
That's also a good I was seeing a lot of negativity after George got signed. Like you can't want to draft good players and then not pay your good players. Like it don't work that way, bro. Like
contradicting.
He was like, why did he get that much money? How are you gonna pay Trent? Oh, Trent gone. Like, bro, y'all know nothing about finances. Stop trying to be Brett Veach. Okay, let him handle it. All right. Yeah, that was.
I think that's some people just don't. Some fans just don't like. They're not that fond of George. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, some fans are more pessimistic about this deal than optimistic. And it's not a bad thing if you don't think George deserves the money. Now, if you don't just think he deserves to get paid at all, I would question that thought. But he definitely deserves to get paid because he's a guy that's been a double-digit sack. He's only ascending. He's going to get better. But, yeah, there are some fans, don't want to pay certain guys. But, hey, that's why you said they're on the outside and not in the building for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of people they don't wait for full details to come out and know how contracts are actually structured. You see what Adam Schefter tweets and $93 million and is
oh my god!
But to be fair, it's not oxymoron. It would just be contradictory. I know I'm not the person that you talk about when you talk about the negativity as far as that's concerned, because I never thought Trent McDuffie's money was ever in jeopardy. And even when the initial contract got reported, I just thought it was maybe more than I would have been comfortable with, but the structure later came out. But it is unfortunate that in the news cycle, social media way in which these things are going to get continued reported, they're going to get reported with the most, favorable financials for the player side. And then obviously you have to then wait for what the actual structure looks like to ultimately get what the money for cap purposes is going to end up looking like. And so, the negativity and pushback of why he would get paid in general, I didn't understand that. Questioning, how much the money was ultimately going to look like, I think was fair. But of course, ultimately, the reporting got done where it needed to get done. So, it is what it is. It's just, but I understand where we come from, DG, because some of the negativity is dumb, and I don't think anybody in Chiefs Kingdom should be concerned about Trent McDuffie getting his money. Truthfully, I don't feel that way.
Pay Trent. Oh my God, we paid George. What's going on?
Yes,
it wouldn't be the Kingdom without any drama. Huh? We gotta have a little bit of drama. It's only
we got to manufacture. It's not it's not like we have a first round pick or the person that is the pillar of our entire defense holding out. Or your number one wide receiver for that matter. I suppose.
Awkward.
So speaking of number one wide receivers, unfortunately, we do have to move on to something else that happened in between the last time in which we talked to you guys. Mr. Rashee Rice kind of had this come out of a little bit of nowhere. There wasn't much chatter leading up to it. But he did have both his criminal and civil cases resolved. He had a civil settlement that'll be handled in the coming days or weeks, etc. And the criminal case ended up getting sentenced, it appears, due to some type of plea deal to 5 years probation and 30 days of jail time that has to be served during those 5 years. And so this is a situation in which as long as he abides by the rules of his probation over the next 5 years and serves that 30 days, so that's still up in the air if he does have to actually serve them, if he abides by those 5 years. If he is able to abide by those, and ultimately his felony conviction here will be expunged and removed from his record. Of course, for the purposes of the Chiefs and the NFL, that is not necessarily going to be a saving grace, as we can now anticipate there will be some suspension of the multi-game type coming down here. Hopefully, I would say everybody agree, hopefully sooner rather than later, so the Chiefs can plan accordingly, certainly before the start of the season from that aspect. And so Rashee Rice obviously faces the disciplinary action of whatever the NFL personal conduct penalty will end up coming to its conclusion. There are variety of things that come into play. It could be as low as 3 games, possibly. It could be as high as 6 games. I think 8 games is probably going to be a little bit too much ultimately, but we'll see. Nate Taylor, who's obviously the new ESPN reporter for the Chiefs, which is awesome to say, said Nate, to prepare for 4 and or I should say, he said
hope for 4.
Hope for 4 and brace for 6, which is understandable as well. So we'll see ultimately where it lands for Rashee Rice's suspension. Of course, not much to be said other than, we all hope it's as little games as possible, but that is the reality of the situation. The question that I will ask as a result of this early season Chiefs schedule is difficult, obviously starting in Brazil against the Chargers. For those that do not know, by the way, over on the Kingdom Cast account, we are doing a countdown to that, and we're starting off with DG's actual favorite plays from each of the last 7 seasons. That'd be the last one that was the 2022 Chargers little sidearm sling, right? Yeah, and so that was 45. So tomorrow we'll be 44 days away from that Chargers game to open up the Chiefs season. And so obviously Chargers open up in Brazil, then come back home with the Super Bowl rematch against the Eagles. Then you go on the road to the New York Giants, and then come back home once again and place the Ravens. Who's after the Ravens? Just jumped out of my head. It's not for some reason I thought it was the Commanders, but it's not the Commanders. And then you go on the road to the Jaguars and come back home and face the Lions. So first six games certainly have some pitfalls and difficulties for the Chiefs to have to try and navigate from that aspect. We'll see. Talk to me a little bit as far as the offensive wide receiver adjustments that you expect. Obviously, this team was without Rashee Rice for the majority of last season. How do you feel about how this offense is going to operate, specifically in the beginning of the season with that difficult stretch down Rashee Rice for some number of games to begin the year?
I expect it to be the same thing the way we ended the year, honestly. Obviously, we want to see.
Well, hopefully it's not the same thing to how we ended the year.
Well, like snap count wise, obviously we want to see the players be used in a different manner. But I think overall, I expect Xavier Ward to lead us in targets those first 4 to 6 weeks whenever Rashee gets back. I expect him to probably lead us in touchdowns that week as well. Obviously, Pacheco and Kareem are both going to be on the field together 100% healthy. So that'll be good to see. Juju's going to contribute. And then obviously Kelsey and Noah Gray is going to have a big – I expect Noah Gray to have more of an uptake this year, especially the way he continued to dominate as a tight end 2 for us last year. So overall, that's what I say. It's really not going to be nothing different, honestly. I don't think you really got to try to reinvent the wheel. You use the guys, like you said, last year, DMac without Rashee. So the offense kind of just keeps rolling without him. And it was kind of funny to go to camp today. They were feeding Rashee a lot. I was like, I'm glad he's getting his touches, but shouldn't we get that for other guys? We're going to have to play for the first month. And I know we don't really know when the suspension's coming, but it was good to see Rashee out there be himself. But no, I think it's going to be similar offense will be ended the season. Worthy's going to lead us in touches and probably touchdowns, and Kelsey and Noah Gray are going to contribute. Juju's going to make his timely plays as well, and maybe we do get to see Jalen Royal take a bigger step sooner than we would have thought. But overall, nothing really changes for overall usage-wise, like snap count-wise, from the wide receiver group for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same way that you kind of ended the season last year. And then I think that's also the great part about all of this is that they played majority of the season without him last year. So kind of used to it at this point. And I think you kind of already know what adjustments you're going to have to make. Obviously, Jalen Royals will have to be in a more impacted role than you probably would have liked him to be early on in his career. But, I think that they'll be able to still move the ball effectively. with the guys that they obviously got. And obviously, you got to get Jalen Rose up to speed as much as possible in this training camp. So I think the touches and the reps for him in this training camp are going to be very vital for him to go out there and be successful. I think that Juju also will be a huge part in this as well too early on. Still might be at a point where they might limit his touches a little bit too, just to kind of make sure that he gets through the season as well. So, but yeah, I think they still got a good group of guys that can obviously go out there and be successful. But when Rashee comes back, I think that ultimately takes your offense to another level that you haven't been able to see just because all these guys haven't been on the field together. So it's going to be great to see when he's able to come back. Hopefully it's only 4 games.
We hate suspensions overall. Like, we don't never wish that on anybody. But the happiest person or who benefits the most from this is Hollywood Brown. Obviously, he's in a guy that's in a contract year. He wants to get paid on the open market. So if he's a guy in these first 4 to 6 weeks can go out there and show his value to not only to us but to other teams across the league, he can go out there and put up some really good numbers and show he can be a legit contributing receiver in somebody else's room because we expect him to be gone next year. So Hollywood Brown has a major opportunity to prove his worth a lot on the field. So that's another guy. Him and Worthy should be getting a lot of touches the first month of the season for sure.
Yeah, and Kyle obviously asked here about Hollywood Brown. Look, I did a video about Hollywood Brown as we finished up. There, I should say, as we were getting to the end of last season and after those Christmas stretch of games, I'm like, Hollywood Brown, I thought had a good showing and being able to add to the diversity of offense. And yeah, it's going to be a big key for him to be healthy early on. And I think that people, understandably so, are sleeping on what his ability really is, because I do truly feel like he could be a second wide receiver in this league. It's just because of the injury in these last few years, he hasn't necessarily shown it. But there's a lot that he brings to the table for this offense. And so Xavier Worthy, that's a little bit more grown up. A Hollywood Brown that's healthy is a big key to what we can get off to as a good start. And then you add in Juju and Jalen Royals and some of the things that they both can do. It's going to be a big piece of being able to keep this offense at a good level. But I do believe that, Rashee Rice is going to be missed early on. And to your point, Nate Taylor called Rashee Rice the early winner of day one of the camp because a lot of things that you were seeing along those lines throughout training camp for the first day, in which, Rashee Rice was getting a lot of targets. Mahomes going to hit him on the drag route underneath here as Leo Chanel gets chased. But he said that he was prepped to target. Same thing that CJ said while he was out there observing, and certainly makes a lot of sense from that standpoint as they try and get him going as well. But, I do think that in addition to Hollywood Brown, there is going to be a big key of making sure that Jalen Royals is going to be, I wouldn't even say necessarily featured in this offense, but he's going to be asked to do a significant portion early on. And you can see him here in the stack at the bottom of the screen. He's going to get snaps and have the opportunity to try and make a sort of impact as well. As Mahomes going to hit Kelsey over the middle of the field too. So you can go over to Kingdom Cast and see some more of those Twitter, those videos that CJ graciously got for us, of course. And also we got let me get Jalen Royals out route here from 11 on 11.
Couldn't get the Bashard Smith play though.
Man, they was blocking me and he threw it all the way to the other end. I was like, fuck.
Everybody talks about how great this play is, but nobody has the video clip.
I know. I was like, nobody on the other end recorded it.
The play that never happened.
I don't know.
We got Jalen Royals working out of the slot, doing a little out route, working against Brian Cook there out of the bunch set as well. So we will see, more of obviously all of these guys as training camp ends up progressing and get some more clips out there as well. Please do make sure you guys go and follow us at Kingdom Cast as we'll be posting those on training camp days as well. And yeah, we got some Noah Gray work early for sure from that aspect. And yeah, I mean, the Brashard Smith play, of course, that GG is
we all want to
distraught about that.
I'm so mad.
We don't.
Great play that never happened.
He just had to go to the other side of the field. He just had to do it that way.
Will Chamberlain's 100 points.
Nah, that's disgusting. That was
just Will Chamberlain's 100 points. Brashard Smith rail route training camp day.
Nobody never saw it. I was like, man,
such a shame. Just lost the history, of course. So that is the Rashee Rice aspect of it, and of course we will have more information as we end up getting it from the NFL, hopefully sooner rather than later, so the Chiefs can plan accordingly. Before we get on to kind of looking forward as far as the 53-man roster projection, a little bit of these training camp battles, and we'll talk about some of the 11-11 stuff and the trenches aspect of it that we saw on day one from the rotations. We do have to say goodbye and farewell and happy retirement to a Chiefs legend, Tyrann Mathieu. Honey Badger himself, championship swagger, has stepped away from the game at the age of 33 after 12 seasons in the National Football League, 3 All-Pro first teams, 2010 Hall of Fame all-decade selection at the safety position. Obviously, 2019 Super Bowl champion with those Kansas City Chiefs, of course, a guy that is one of, if you can even argue, the most impactful free agency acquisition in Kansas City Chiefs history for the attitude, the swagger, the mentality, and, of course, the excellent play that he brought, especially from a DB position, the versatility for Spag's scheme to this Chiefs defense that really on the field, in my opinion, served as a inflection point. In the same way in which Spags, traded over from the Bob Sutton era, changed the side of the defense, Mathieu, for his leadership and the way that he came to work on a daily basis and what he brought to the team on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, changed the face of the defense just as much as far as the culture is concerned. So Tyrann Mathieu, man, salute to you and what you brought to the table. DG and CJ, I'll give you guys the floor before we look at a few send-off plays for Tyrann Mathieu.
Man,
Boy,
remember it vividly. 2018, went to the AFC Championship game, froze my tail off.
couldn't feel my feet.
Watch D4 be offsides.
Chris Jones phantom, roughing the passer call. Jesus.
I sat in my seat thinking to myself, that was it, bro. That was our one shot to get to Super Bowl, to go to Atlanta, see our team play for a title.
Like the Rams too. God,
Then going into next year, man, I really didn't know where this team was gonna go. Obviously you were hyped what Mahomes had done the previous year before, 50 touchdowns and things of that nature, but like they had to fix the defense at some point. Like, you can't continue to ask your young quarterback to go out there and try to put up 40 points every game. So, when he got released by the Texans and became a free agent, I didn't think that there was a chance in hell that Tyrann Mathieu would be a Chief. But you always dreamed of it or whatever. I remember watching him at LSU. One of probably, like we was talking about before the show, having one of the most greatest college football highlights you've ever seen. Remember his Heisman candidate year at LSU, just tremendous, bro. It was always incredible to watch. But yeah, him coming here, man, you just knew this defense needed some kind of attitude, some kind of swag, somebody back there. It didn't even necessarily mean him making plays. It was more just about the attitude that he brought to us. Getting him. I was sitting here before the show watching the mic'd up version of him and Frank Clark, and I like, bro, the swag. Them two dudes, like, they talk so much trash. I missed that part of that defense. That 2019 team was so special, just because of how confident they were in themselves, how confident that defense was. It felt great the next year knowing they're actually gonna get off the field.
Thanks, guys.
Actually, yeah, like they're actually gonna get off the field, create turnovers, and I think that was the biggest thing for Tyrann, bringing him in. Like, his ball skills just were incredibly off the charts. And the amount of turnovers that he caused to help us, obviously get the ball back. And some, I ain't gonna lie, something they can use in his defense for real. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, man, Tyrann, man, is I think he's a Ring of Honor player. I would be more than happy if they had him back next year to bang the drum at some point during the season. His name should definitely go in that Ring of Honor. He changed the culture here. He laid the foundation of where we're at in our franchise and in this dynasty right now. He's a special part of that. I ain't gonna lie, like seeing him retire today kind of, gave me a lot of sentimental feelings because, he's such a great player, such a great guy with a great attitude and a great story. definitely, hopefully he enjoys retirement, man, enjoys the next chapter in his career. And he put on his Instagram today that everybody that he played for, he hopefully he made them proud, and I would tell him, job well done, Tyron. You definitely did, bro. You definitely made us all proud and definitely hyped to root for you. So yeah, man. Hopefully he enjoys it, and go be a father, man. Go love on your kids, watch your kids grow, and enjoy all of that.
It's a full circle moment because, like DG said, watching him in college, he's about the same age as us, so we kind of grew up with Tyron. That's why it's kind of
like watching a brother.
I was like, when he played at LSU as a freshman when he dyed his hair with the mohawk, and then obviously he kind of set the culture there, and obviously Odell Beckham and Jarvis.
When he put that 7 on, man, it was special.
It was different, man. And obviously that LSU team was special, and probably one of the guys that got robbed for a Heisman. Not to say like other guys weren't deserving. He had some hella guys he had to go against, but he was arguably one of the best players, if not the best player in the country that year in 2011. And he played like it everywhere. And anybody who was around high school or around college at that time knew how good Tyrann Mathieu was. And we knew how much of a dog he was. Obviously, he came into the league with some off-the-field issues, but didn't let that stop him by any means. Obviously, overcame injuries, overcame a lot of adversity when he got drafted by Arizona, went out there and dominated, and then obviously moved on to Houston. And like DG said, my wife thought he would have signed here because most free agents don't sign with Kansas City. Usually if we get good players, we have to trade for them or draft them. Usually those guys don't choose to sign here. So when he did that, that lets you know how much of an impact that this culture and this team made on him. That's probably the biggest addition to this organization outside of like somebody coming outside of here, probably since like Andy Reid, like somebody that came to the team and changed the culture here. And obviously
culture shift.
Like, no disrespect to Bob Sutton, but he needed to go. Like, he was Mr. Blitz Bob himself. I love Bob Sutton, bro. You was blitzing way too much.
You don't have to say no disrespect. He needed to go. He needed to go.
Bob Sutton, you a great man, but you had to go. So obviously, bringing in a guy like Spags, championship pedigree, like I said, with Andy Reid in 2013, you're bringing a guy with leadership, swagger. I mean, a dog mentality, like DG just said. That's what the Chiefs needed. Anything and everything on the defensive side of the football. And Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, amongst other guys, brought that to this team, and we needed that desperately. Because we knew how good the offense was. You had this young Ferrari at quarterback coming off the MVP season. Just give him some type of help at defense. And that's all this defensive unit needed to do. And that's the fact that they were able to be a top 15, top 18 unit, that's all you needed. And that when DG brought up the moment of us losing to the Patriots, I was mad because I was at that game too. And it pissed me off even more because we were going to play the Rams, a team that we obviously had to shoot out one of the greatest games in NFL history with. That year as well. So that brought up some bad memories. I ain't gonna lie. That made me even more mad today because we should have won that game.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I had to instead of watching the part 2 of the 28 or one of the best, if not the best, regular season games we've ever seen. I had to watch the Patriots and Rams at 13-3, terrible game in person. Oh man, I was so upsetting, bro. I did leave. I left with like 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter.
I would have left.
Because
overall,
I couldn't watch it anymore.
Super happy for Tyrann. I know a lot of his family is still here in Kansas City, so I know they loved it here. Man, this couldn't happen to a better guy. I'm so glad he got to end his career as a winner because I know there were a lot of bad sentiments said around the league of him as a person when he came into the NFL, and obviously to be where he is now, remembered as a leader, as a great player, and as a great person, couldn't happen to a better guy. So I'm happy for him, happy for his family. Definitely would love to see him in the Ring of Honor, like DG said. We had some arguments online today about Hall of Fame. It's debatable. I would love to see him get in, but I think as of right now, he probably doesn't. But, definitely would love to see Tyrann be a guy banging the drum and putting his name in that Ring of Honor in Arrowhead Stadium, whether it be here or the new stadium. So 32 lives on forever, man. So
for sure, Chiefs Hall of Famer for sure.
He should be a Chiefs player for sure.
It's going to be interesting.
Weird how they put guys in, though.
It's interesting because he is only a guy that was here for obviously the 3 years. Or was it 4 years? 4 years?
3 years.
3 years. And it doesn't seem like that should be a long enough tenure. But you, again, for all the things that I mentioned at the top, like what he meant to the transformation of that defensive side of the ball, I think is worth it as far as that's concerned to be able to, earn Chiefs Ring of Honor. But there's also a portion of, man, you're going to have to, whatever, I guess, it's a totally different discussion as far as new Arrowhead or whatever that's going to end up looking like is going to have a bigger ring to be able to put them names up there because it's a lot of names that are going to be getting up there, given the fact that we keep winning championships and guys keep getting extended here in Kansas City for good reason. It's a great problem to have, of course. And to your point, DG, I mean, Tyron was always somebody that has made a living off of being around the football on a consistent basis. And I think that's always the biggest thing for me personally. Oh, man, I can't show this because it'll be copyrighted. I won't show it. But Tyrann Mathieu and some of the plays that he made during the 2019 playoffs and his versatility to always be around the ball, and that's why he got so many turnovers, but it was also because Spags put him in positions to be able to use these instincts and his physicality against the run game and the short passing game over the middle. His ability to be a robber and break up passes on a consistent basis was spectacular. I love putting him in that robber position. And of course, he had the ability to be a guy with really good ball skills on the back end and playing split safety looks as well to be able to disrupt passes and keep the big plays down. So shout out to Tyrann Mathieu, man. Salute to you and hope you enjoy retirement, being a family man. And it would be really cool to see you in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. And I think he got a shot at a gold jacket too, with the resume that he's put together for sure, man. So with that all being said, now we have the opportunity to look forward, of course. We are going to look forward as far as the Chiefs 53-man roster. We're going to start with some training camp battles, of course. I'm just going to give the top portion of this because we did have, obviously the Jawaan Taylor news being put on PUP to start off training camp, in addition to Christian Fulton, both dealing with knee issues of some kind. And they said that Jawaan Taylor is closer to coming back as far as that's concerned. That's what Andy Reid stated. We will see how early that happens. But as far as the beginning of the Chiefs training camp, we did have, the offensive line alignment being a little bit interesting from this the perspective of it was, of course, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith at center and right guard. Jalen Moore started off at right tackle. Joshua Simmons started off at left tackle. Left guard was Kingsley Suamataia. And I think it's important just to mention here before we get into kind of the overall aspect of it, the portion of Joshua Simmons' recovery being maybe it feels like a little bit ahead of schedule. Like the idea is that it was a partial tear and not necessarily a full repair of the meniscus. And that is something that not only makes it less severe, but, obviously shortens the time at which you have to recover from that aspect. So it appears that he is on track, to be a real factor here. And, we talked about, hey, are you going to be able to kind of beat your timeline to be in a position to start day one? Today was a good step as far as Josh Simmons is concerned. So we'll be asking you guys just kind of what are, the training camp battles on the offensive side of the ball, or just the one training camp battle, I should say, on the offensive side of the ball that you'll be looking forward to seeing as far as we look at, a 53-man roster projection that we'll kind of end up doing together as we go throughout here.
I mean, outside of Josh and Jalen, that's really mainly as far as like from a starting standpoint, that's the biggest one. Obviously, Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson are both going to play in some capacity. Just depends where on the field, and I think that's kind of like matchup dependent. Like some weeks we're going to see 3 safety looks, and you're going to see some Jabari Connor. Some weeks you may see some 3 corner looks, and you may see Christian Fulton and Jalen Watson outside with Trent in the slot based on the matchup and who we're playing that week. But outside of that, it's really kind of everybody's job is pretty much set in stone. Honestly, the biggest thing is just health and getting Jawaan Taylor back out there, and if Josh is ready to go, he's a starter, and if it's not, Jalen Moore's the guy. So not really too many camp battles this year. It's kind of I was looking at it, it's kind of a boring year for storylines. Not really too many guys. It's like a lot of backup competition spots, not nobody really competing for starting spots outside the obvious ones.
Yeah, I think the same. I think the real battle, I don't even think it's a battle. It's just more so is Josh Simmons going to show that he's healthy enough to be on the field for you, week one. I think that's really the biggest story in it all at this point. I don't really see any other battles, especially on the offensive side. I think you kind of know who you're kind of rolling out there at this point. I've seen Country bring over receiver 6. But, I mean, at this point, I pick a guy,
Anybody pick one.
Yeah, take your pick. But yeah, I don't see too many battles. In all honesty, I do would keep a close eye on Kingsley as well and his development at that left guard position. Just seeing, I know they love his athleticism in that spot, but Is he fully ready to take on that role, being a starter for this team, and how well does he adapt to that new position? Whatever. I know it's not the same as playing tackle. Maybe a little bit less stressful than playing tackle, but still is very, very key, important position for this team moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the manner in which you look at some of these kind of down the roster battles, wide receiver, or I should say tight end forward, Jared Wiley was a little bit of an underrated thing, obviously with the extensions and Jawan Taylor going on PUP. The fact that Jared Wiley did not go on PUP is something where, okay, well, now Robert Tonyan, Jake Printing School, that is going to be a real competition between the three of them you expect for tight end 3/4 if that ends up happening as far as the roster with the fourth tight end being possible. Of course, the Nico Remigio, Tyquan Thornton, Elijah Badger, Sky Moore quartet as far as fighting for extra wide receiver spots, assuming that Rashee Rice is somebody that's going to be a pending suspension, is going to be something to certainly watch on, to see if he ends up, do they keep a sixth wide receiver? Do they only keep 5 in anticipation of Price coming back and then use the spot elsewhere? Is going to be something to watch, certainly from that aspect as well. And then, running back is fascinating. Elijah Mitchell, can he stay healthy? With Brashard Smith, the ghost play that apparently only happened to those that saw it with their own 2 eyes, is already making some level of impact as well. We saw Kareem Hunt catch a pass as well earlier today. So, hey, we'll see as far as what that competition looks like. And we're going to whittle this down to 53 for our initial projection in a little bit as well. But defense side of the ball, I'll say that the one that I'm going to be watching the most is going to be cornerback 2. Obviously, Fulton is going to start a little bit behind the 8 ball because of the issue that he's dealing with as far as injuries are concerned. Noah Williams, the draft pick, got a little bit of work early. Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie were the first 2 corners, with Shamari Connor working in the nickel that we saw then last year. Not my cup of tea. I hope we see a little bit less of that personally. It just, I don't like to see it. I know that other people will say Trent McDuffie's skill set is too great to just waste on the inside. I don't think it's a waste ultimately if you have the outside talent of Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, and Noah Williams to be able to affect outside wide receivers and use that boundary effectively, compared to Trent McDuffie with the versatility that he can bring. Thank you for that, DG. And the ability to go inside and out for what Spags wants to do. So me personally, I'd like to see Trent McDuffie more often than nickel, but of course, they're going to bring these guys along a little bit slowly. Christian Roland Wallace, the backup slot, seems to be pretty safe on the roster, I'll be honest with you guys, because he is the backup slot at this current moment in time. Nazeeh Johnson, Joshua Williams fighting for their spots, it may seem. For you guys, what is the defensive training camp battle that you'll be having your eyes on?
Yeah, I think the CB2 and probably, would you say safety 2 behind Hicks? I mean, because you obviously know they're gonna play Jaden Hicks as much as they can. But now I think you kind of have a battle. Is it Brian Cook? Is it Mike Edwards? Is it Shamari Connor? A little bit more. Is it Nazeeh Johnson? A little bit more. Which I would like to see him be back in his kind of a natural position as well too. So I think that's an interesting battle. I ultimately think Mike Edwards is probably the guy that they will like to have back there as the veteran. He knows the system already. He thrived in the system as well, and he's kind of more of the ball hawk that they need back there. That can kind of create some turnovers for them. So, but yeah, that's an interesting position for me that I'll probably be looking at, and then just the development of Jeffrey Bossa as well, and his pass cover skills. And how they kind of use him this year too. I also think FAU too has to have. I think this is a pivotal year for him to see where he's at in his career and his development. Can you kind of go out there and put together a decent year to kind of prove to the people in this organization that you were worth the pick? I think those were the things I'll be watching for as far as the defensive side and training camp.
CJ, what about you?
Yeah, from a starting standpoint, I think everybody's job on defense is pretty much set. From a backup standpoint, yeah, definitely think FAU is probably out of anybody on the defense fighting for a job with him. Because they drafted a guy like Ashton Gelati who's on your heels, and A lot of people didn't like the pick from Felix initially in the first place. So he's a guy that's proved himself not only to the team, but to the fan base as well, why he deserves to be here. So I'm definitely excited to see him and Ashton go at it in camp and see who is the best of each other and obviously who's out there and who's the better player. But I think from a starting standpoint, obviously, the linebacker room, I'm glad to see Jeffrey Bossa acclimating himself to the room, like DG said, and having 4 linebackers in rotation going to make us better. This defense was at their best 2 years ago when we had 4 linebackers to rotate through when we had Nick Bolton. So I love Jeffrey Bossa to replace that role from a cornerback standpoint. Like we said, Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, or Noel, any combination of the 3 outside, while Trent's in the slot. Like DMac said earlier, I love that matchup based on whoever we're playing, based on a certain week. And we know Spag loves his 3 safety looks. I'm sure there'll be weeks where we'll get a lot of Hicks, Cook, and Mike Edwards or Jamari Connor look. And as far as defense, you know I'm not saying everybody's going to play. You got to be ready when your number's called. Maybe early, maybe later. But unfortunately, things happen like pulled hammies and concussions and things you can't really plan for, but they're going to happen during the season. So you have to be ready when your number's called, like last year when J1 went down and Nazi had to step up and Josh and Christian Willenwall. That's a lot of guys had to make plays. So everybody's going to be prepared for the moment because they know how it is, and it's such a long season. And we play into February almost every year, so you have to be ready when your number's called. So the biggest thing I personally would like to see, that's not a sexy talk, but I would love to see Fabian Lovett get some reps. Definitely would like to see his size. Cool. I would like to see Fabian Lovett try to get,
hey, you better not say who to him. That man is the second best run stuffer we got on the roster right now, man.
Got too many big boys, him and Mike. That's pretty much it. That's what I'm saying. So we'd love to see him get some reps up with the ones and see what he can do. But I think depth is key. Anytime you're trying to win a championship and get to San Fran this year, which is where the Super Bowl's held, you have to have depth. So the more players you have that are available for you, the more guys you feel comfortable and confident out there to make plays, is going to make you a better football team. So the way this roster looks right now, I think is great. I love the depth. We can go 2, 3, 4 deep at every position. The only one I'm probably worried about, like what DMac said, would be our interior D-line. Obviously, Mike Pinnell's getting up there in age. Jerry Tiller's not necessarily a run stuffer. Omar Norman Lott's undersized as well. So from a pass rushing standpoint, I think we got better. The biggest thing for us is can we stop the run and be that great dominant run defense we've been the last 2 years. So you want to see that trend to continue, and we need to see how that's going to look. But outside of that, no really major storylines, honestly. Just my biggest thing is keep everybody healthy, man. Stay on the field. Everybody know what to do. Let's go out there and win some games.
I'm glad that you mentioned, obviously, Fabian, because when you talk about putting on the pads, I think there are multiple aspects of this defensive line that are going to be fascinating. First and foremost, really throughout it, because the pass rush, the 4-man pass rush, I'll say specifically for this team, was lacking last year in their ability to help out Chris Jones in that aspect, and George Karlaftis, I'll say too, as a consistent force. Charles Omeni, who come back from the injury, never really got back to the level that he was at 2023. Treshard Warden was giving us, really good snaps early on, fell off him a little bit from a pass rush perspective, continued to give us good snaps even still. Mike Dana battled injury the entirety of the year, and you're not talking about somebody that was really a great pass rush to begin with. Felix Anduke-Uzomah, again, this is a proven year from him. Can he take another, I shouldn't say another, but a real step in being able to be an impactful player, especially in a rotation? Then you got the rookies, Omar Norman Lott, Ashton Gelati, and the new acquisition is Jerry Tillery. How they choose to mix and match, who is flashing, being able to be a disruptor on the interior, is going to be a massive piece of what this defensive line is going to look like. And of course, Fabian Lovett Sr. has an opportunity to be able to push for some run down snaps if he's able to make this roster, and he can show that early on in camp as well. So we'll see, in addition to obviously the vets returning and Mike Pinnell from that aspect too. So the last thing that I'll mention before we go ahead and work on whittling down this roster, Eddie Sapalchalik, I believe that's where we said it on, CJ. Eddie Sapalchalik,
we gonna butcher that, boy.
Eddie Sapalchalik from USC, rookie UDFA punter, had a really good year last year at UDFA.
ZCAPLICKI.
Eddie
Zapelski.
Sapelski. Okay, Sapelski. Sorry.
Sapelski. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm reading out the roster. I'm trying.
Sapelski. I think that works. Sapelski. We'll go with Sapelski.
You sound like Transformers.
Zippalik.
Wiki.
Got it.
You sound like Wiki. That's what DG sound like.
Got it. Eddie's a
He
pissy.
said, wiki.
Right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mess up the pod. I'm sorry.
Eddie's a
He said, wiki.
I hope it's a riser because I can't say that brother name.
I know we butchered that. I'm sorry. Hey.
Okay, so Matt Ariza and Eddie Sapelski will be in a punter battle. I'll be interested in it because Matt Ariza wasn't that good last year, and if Eddie can be better, then I hope he ends up making the team. Or hopefully Matt Ariza got better as being able to place some of these punts, being able to pin guys deep as well. The safety room is going to be interesting. Obviously, if Connor is still getting primary safety snaps, or I should say nickel snaps, then that's going to be a key piece of it because then Mike Edwards, Brian Cook, obviously you assume that Jaden Hicks and Cook are going to be the starters. Mike Edwards rotating in off of that. Where those guys end up fitting in the rotation is going to be fascinating as well. But we can start whittling down. Obviously, Harrison Butker, James Winchester. Those will be the main guys as far as that's concerned. And we'll move Eddie down here just to the pending aspect of it for right now. We'll call that outside looking in for right now. So I don't know what I'm practice squad. For right now, and we'll put him down there so we can count that as 3 for the special teams to that point. And so I guess we could start making some easier cuts. Deion Bush obviously has been pretty good for this team on the special teams aspect of it, but as it stands right now, I would say that he's probably going to end up, being on the outside ultimately.
Practice squad Bush.
Practice squad Bush.
So that leaves you with those 4 safeties. Got technically 7 corners for what we assume to be 6 spots. I'll be honest with you, Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, one of these guys on the chopping block. One of these guys has been good on special teams, and one of these guys hasn't.
I think you kind of gave your answer right there, son. if you're any position player and you're fighting for position number 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you don't play well on special teams or don't play special teams at all, you're kind of giving your answer to them when they talk about cutting guys. So. I hate to be blunt, but that's just
we will see if it ends up happening. Of course, Christian Fulton's health is going to be a piece of it for right now. But
two gone, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I love Josh, but yeah,
it does come down to special teams, truly. And Joshua Williams, unfortunately, he made too many mistakes last year on special teams.
Better than that.
Yeah. And so we'll keep those 6 cornerbacks. Jeffrey Bassett slides in here pretty easily, in my personal opinion, at linebacker 4. I felt really good about Cam Jones last year. We'll see if he has made a jump since then. For right now, we're probably going to have to give it to Jack Cochran as far as that 5th spot, just because he is the incumbent. I don't think that's too crazy of a
green dot guy.
I think those guys probably end up being on practice squad. Cam Jones, Paul Christensen.
Yeah. Edge and defensive line is going to be interesting. So as it currently stands right now, you got 15 players on the defense. And you probably can take 10. I mean, if you wanted to say 25, ultimately, if you wanted to say balance out for offense and defense and keep all of these guys, maybe you save a little bit, make it 24 on defense and 26 on offense, and move Fabian Lovett over to the outside looking in for right now. I could see the argument for keeping Fabian Lovett though, because I do believe that you need some of that run stopping depth as far as that aspect of it. I think for balance purposes, I'm fine with keeping the defense at 25 ultimate people. You guys agree with that? You cool with that?
Yeah.
For now, I think it's a group.
Definitely, especially with how older Mike Pennell is getting. I don't think you want to go into the season with uncertainty that if he goes down, you don't have a shot to really plug up to it.
Yeah. Obviously, that means that the offense is also going to be keeping 25 people. Patrick Mahomes, Gardner Minshew, pretty well. I didn't even put, all due respect to Bailey Zappi and Chris Owens, which Bailey Zappi can be an upgrade on the practice squad, in my opinion. But yeah, we're going to keep that at those 2 guys as well. I'll just let me be fair to Bailey Zappi. I don't want to be unfair to Bailey Zappi.
Practice squad, All-American.
Put Bailey Zappi over there on practice squad, or at the outside looking, he deserves to be there. Running back. I'd say Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, Brashard Smith, and Carson Steele. Are you willing to keep 5 guys to also have a fullback on this roster?
Depends on how Elijah Mitchell plays in preseason. If he looks healthy and looks like the San Fran guy that was cutting and has great vision and makes explosive plays and finishes runs tough, I could see them keeping 5 guys. But if he doesn't look healthy, inconsistent, the vision isn't there, then he'll probably be the guy that's the odd man out for me. I think Carson Field's on the roster. You need some type of fullback. So.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to Ken Swanson over at KCSN because he did tweet this out earlier today. The fact that they gave more guaranteed money to Elijah Mitchell than they did Kareem Hunt. You can take that for what you may want to take it for.
Yeah. We'll see. I think if they play the game right now, I don't think Elijah Mitchell will be more effective than Kareem Hunt personally. But age does come. So, how much older is Elijah than Kareem?
I don't know if you can get 5 backs on this roster, in my opinion. I think it's 4.
I think it's 4. I think it's sure.
So I guess Elijah Mitchell, because of the injury concern, is probably going to be on the outside end, and we'll say that
I don't
he
see
has
a
the
world
longest
where
road
Kareem
to
Hunt's
make
not
it.
on this roster.
Yeah, I don't
last year. That's not.
Yeah,
possible.
his short yardage value alone is going to save him. DG is like Carson Steele is gone, bro.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here, bro. Gone. Get him off my team. I'm sorry.
You want to send Carson Steele to the Bellagio so badly.
DG, we need a fullback. How we going around on short yard?
Bro, we don't need no fullback. Get that man.
No one do it. You said no. You want no one?
No, y'all like that man because he got a pet gator. Whoop-de-doo.
I don't like him. I don't like him. They like him. Okay, I don't like him.
They do. They like him because
they like him.
Get that man off.
You're not wrong.
Wide receiver. Obviously, we're not going to count Rashee Rice for the purposes of this, and I'll actually, if I could just put him in black here for right now, we're not going to count Rashee Rice to our ultimate
suspension.
Yeah, we're gonna put him in black for right now. Just say, hey, we're not counting him as a
TBD.
Yes. Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Royals, essential locks on the roster. I'd be honest with you guys. I'd probably say Nico at this point kind of feels that way, given the fact that he has the extra roster spot now. So Tyquan Thornton, Elijah Badger, Sky Moore, are you keeping one of those guys or saying goodbye to all of them? To based on what are you keeping 6 wide receivers to start the year sans Rashee Rice? Are you limiting it to 5?
If they do, I'm banging the table for Elijah Badger. That's my camp guy. I don't expect him to play any snaps for us this year, but if they're banging the table to keep anybody on this roster, Elijah Badger's my guy. Play special teams if need be. He's the best receiver of those 3, in my opinion. So.
They all can go, in my opinion.
Watch them. I'm
all off the team.
Elijah Badger's so nice, bro. I can't believe we got him.
Well, I'll let me reverse that. Elijah Badger, I would like to see as a young rookie. I would like to see what he's actually made of. Remigio, Thornton, Sky Moore, great guys.
Yeah,
probably
Tyquan and Sky.
Guys. Y'all can go.
I've sseen Tyquan Thornton.
Seen what I've seen. I know a lot of people are big Remigio fans or whatever. I don't know.
For what it's worth, DG,
I don't see it, bro. What are we?
Nico got all the first team reps today when they did punt return, kick return, bro. He's on the roster. Whether you don't like him as a receiver, I get, and I somewhat agree to the extent with some fans. But as a returner, bro, he's a lock on the roster. By that leverage alone, he's gonna get on all the reps. He was the first one in line, bro. Every time.
Put him on the roster.
Well, so let's I still think Tyquan Thornton has a shot.
He definitely does.
We all agree this isn't happening.
No!
So we're gonna come back to the wide receiver room and see if we need to create an extra spot here. Obviously one of Tyquan Thornton and Elijah Badger at the least will be going. But we'll see. We may need to create 2 spots. Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, all locks. They're not getting rid of the 4th round pick here, especially now that he's healthy. Robert Tonyan, Jake Bidding School, keeping 4 tight ends, is that a valuable thing for you guys? Is that something that you want to emphasize with losing those heavy personnel sets?
If it's them keeping Brennan still, yeah. I think Bob Tunyon is probably
Big Bob Tunyon.
He's probably practice squad candidate, Yeah,
I think top practice squad, yeah. It's either Jake Brennan still a red zone threat or nothing for me.
Okay. Fair enough. And so now we're at 15 left as far as spots are concerned. So offensive line, Jawan Taylor, Creed Humphrey, Josh Simmons, Kingsley, Jalen Moore, Trey Smith, all locks as far as that is concerned. Then it gets a little interesting. Wanye Morris was the backup left tackle primarily. Obviously, with Jalen Moore out today, he was getting the primary left tackle second team reps. Hunter Norzad, Mike Caliendo, CJ Hansen all were making up the interior offensive line behind them on that second string. Ethan Driscoll got the first right tackle 2 reps from that standpoint, as Sapoli was working with third team. So I think Sapoli can beat out Ethan Driscoll. Do they have the room to keep him is going to be a question mark. They really like Mike Caliendo. Do they end up keeping CJ Hansen? To me, I think that CJ Hansen and Ethan Driscoll are on the chopping block, in my personal opinion.
I think Mike Caliendo is one because he was getting a lot of reps when they wanted to rotate the guards. He was the first one to come in after Kingsley. So I think Mike's a good foreseeable lock for sure for the now. So it may be Ethan and CJ on the outside looking in because Hunter obviously is our backup center.
So for right now, that'll leave you with 10 offensive linemen, so 14, 18, 20, and that would leave you with
up there that's disgusting me right now.
What'd you say?
I said there's still one name up there that's disgusting me right now.
So that leaves you with that leaves you with room for 5 wide receivers. So that would get rid of Tyquan Thornton and Elijah Badger. Is there an offensive lineman that you would like to get rid of to keep one of Tyquan Thornton or Elijah Badger? Or are we saying that both of those guys would be on the track spot? Or I would say, or Jake Brennan School for that matter as well.
It'd probably be Jake Brennan School for me.
Go ahead, did you?
If anything. Because the only reason I was high on Jake Brennan School.
I know Carson Steele. I understand. I know.
I mean, he's right there. You can just run with 3 running backs and
I mean, my decision making on Jake Brennan School, the reason I was excited about him in the draft, was all predicated on whether Jared Wiley was healthy or not. The fact that I saw him walk down the hill today with no sleeve on, no knee brace, was good coming in and out of his breaks, caught the ball very well. He looked like himself. Now, obviously, it's different now than pads, but he just looked like he had any setbacks for me. Now, if he would have had like an injury or had a knee brace on, then I would say keep Brennan School. So
did you feel like Wiley and Brennan, because this has been a topic of conversation kind of going throughout the offseason. Do you feel like Jared Wiley was a better prospect than Jake Brennan School coming out of college?
Yes.
Okay.
More explosive. Jake Brennan School is probably the better red zone threat, which I think Jared can be just as effective, but explosive down the field, I think, Jared's better.
And Wiley obviously has a little bit more of that split out game. Brennan's still a little bit more willing to be an inline tight end. Does that matter for you as far as the roles for them that you envision for, having here and being important to be on the roster?
Both guys are willing blockers. Neither one of them are dominant, I would say. But when I'm looking at that third tight end role, I'm looking at a guy who can find mismatches, kind of like the way we use Jody Fortson. And I think Jared Wiley's more feasible for that position right now. Not to say Brennan still can't do it. I think he's very effective in the red zone as well. But I would, all in all, if Jared Wiley never got hurt, I don't think we even signed Jake Brennan still, respectfully. So,
I'm cool with Elijah Badger personally. So I like Elijah Badger. And again, we're talking about kind of the return value, what Brashard Smith can bring. I don't necessarily want to see a lot of Xavier Worthy doing so, given the circumstances. No, Williams can return some stuff as well. So I would be inclined for this projection to put Tyquan Thornton down there and have Elijah Badger on there. And we'll bring Jake Brennan School here down as well to keep 6 wide receivers, ultimately 10 offensive linemen, and that'll be our 25, which I will double check in my math in my head. 6, 12, 15, 25. All right, cool. I can do math. So So this will be the initial 53-man roster projection. And yes, I will, selflessly say that Esapol is my, one roster spot that I'll use my veto power on. And I will not give that same power to allow DG to fire Carson Steele into the sun.
He want Carson though so bad.
But yeah, and I think ultimately this is a balanced roster. It gives you enough depth in the trenches, in my opinion, because I think it's going to be important early on as you're trying to figure out the role specifically for really that defensive line. I think it's really more so you hope that offensive line is more solidified going into this. Maybe 10 offensive linemen ends up being too much, and they end up shaving off a guy like Essa Caliendo. We'll see from that perspective, but it'll be interesting to see as we go throughout it, and this will be the initial 2025 53-man Chiefs roster projection 1.0, and we'll be updating this after preseason game number 1, and as we get closer to cut down day, of course, multiple times over. Also, I did highlight Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and George Karlaftis for the green because I felt like they deserved the shout out. Anything else, guys, as far as a 53-man that you guys want to speak to before you go ahead and get on out of here?
Great first day of camp. Let's keep everybody healthy, man. That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Biggest key is make sure these guys get to the start of the season healthy and ready to roll as far as that is concerned. Pads will come on a little bit later on into camp. Of course, Chiefs are still, I think, the first Chiefs preseason first game August 9th, right? I think it's August 9th. August 9th in Arizona. So certainly got a ways to go from that aspect of it. But pads come on. That'll be the big thing as far as the interior and the trenches are concerned. But for now, we'll continue to keep a lookout as far as the secondary, specifically the cornerback 2 situation is concerned. And, of course, watch what happens with some of the weapon rotation and how those guys are clicking with Patrick Mahomes as things continue to move out throughout camp, man. Only thing to before we get on out of here, man, Underdog Fantasy, use code TRUE3, $100 deposit match. WNBA and MLB both back in full swing after their all-star breaks. Time to get it done. Underdog does have NFL futures over there for you guys to check out if you want to put some in. Little Travis Kelce, little Patrick Mahomes over option. They got Patrick Mahomes with 27.5 touchdowns. I'm taking this over. I promise you guys that.
Smack that.
You feel good about Slim Kelce. They got him, I think it was 750 yards as an over and under for his line as well. So you guys can go over there, place your choices. And if you guys have not got on Underdog, go ahead and sign up with that code TRUE3 or code KingdomCast. Get you a $100 deposit match to start out, man. And also, you can join the Bet the House Sportsbook on Discord over there with CJ, DG. Always plays getting put in there. Having a good time with it. So nothing else to be said. Chiefs camp started up. Really awesome to say that Chiefs training camp is back and say, Joe, the smell of football is coming back into the air. Fantasy drafts, things of that nature. George Karlaftis getting signed. Trey Smith getting signed. Hopefully Trent McDuffie is next. Good to talk to you guys. We'll be back next week recapping the week of training camp. Any other news that happens in between now and then, we'll certainly keep you guys up to date. For DG and CJ, man, peace out. Go Chiefs.
Peace.